Dun dun dun! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily market update with yours truly. As I'm sure you can imagine, we have got a hell of a lot to get into. Of course, the cryptocurrency market took a bit of a tumble yesterday. Quite an weird scenario for me. I was actually watching my portfolio rise despite Bitcoin's price action. Bitcoin really bore the brunt of that. Of course, we've got news that BlackRock have been sending funds over to Coinbase. Obviously, outflows in regards to their ETFs. We'll talk about all that. We'll talk about tariffs. We'll talk about some interesting things that have taken place over the past 24 hours also, like Gemini's case getting dropped. We do think Ripple's is very likely. You've got the Sunshine Act taking place today. And actually, I think XRP, or we looked at the fact that XRP was a topic of discussion there. But there's a hell of a lot going on. We'll try and simplify it all down. Every time the price of the cryptocurrency market takes a tumble, and remember, we made the call to get back into markets on the 5th of January 2023, having been out for the majority of 2022. Okay? And every time there's been a correction for Bitcoin and broadly the broader space, because Bitcoin can largely represent that because it's still the tide that rises and sinks all ships, the same players, the same fears and worries and concerns have arisen. And they're unwarranted, in my opinion, because people don't understand, and this is why we're a technical analyst, the broader uptrend, the broader market structure, and the fact that it's very much still intact. Bitcoin's pulling back. It's done great things. And unfortunately, the altcoin sector just gets thrown around like a paper bag in the wind. But when you look at altcoins broadly, we look at markets in sort of four phases. They're in a really good position. And my bet is that Bitcoin's going to continue. Altcoins are going to really have this amazing bull market. I mean, generally, everything's going to be absolutely okay. And we're likely going to see a repeat of the kind of macroeconomic conditions that Trump induced in 2017. It's very interesting how everyone went into this year loving Trump. And now everyone's like, this guy, you know. And, of course, you had everything going on with the tariffs and whatnot yesterday. But don't be too hard on yourselves, guys. You're investing in the most sort of volatile asset class that there is, period. We still have altcoins that are hundreds of percent up. You know, over 70% of my portfolio looks like that, despite this pullback. So it's quite a weird scenario yesterday watching Bitcoin tank, but my altcoins kind of hold their own. Not really the alt season that we wanted, but I still think that is to come. We've got a lot to get into, guys. It does really help to be part of a community. In times like what took place yesterday, of course, we did a live meeting within our Patreon. If you want to join, there's a link in the description. Let's get through it all. So Trump threatens to slap 25% tariffs on EU, says block was always meant to hurt the US. Now, we saw the kind of price action on the back end, but it largely got shook off because there was kind of a semi-resolve to it. We saw the price action on the back end of the 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada. Now he's talking about the EU, and like the UK, and they'll be more in line. My personal hunch on this is he's just using this to essentially barter and get what he wants and to do business. You know, he's a businessman. The art of the deal is his thing. And ultimately, I think that's also why they're allowing, or he's not putting pressure on a restriction in regards to, or reduction in regards to rates, monetary policy, and ultimately weakening the dollar just yet, because he wants to use the dollar and its strength as a kind of bartering tool and then get what he wants and then encourage this economic sort of growth and boom. And if you look at what happened, we're very much following 2017's playbook. He got inaugurated on January 2017. The dollar setting up exactly the same. So are markets. I looked at this with my Patreons yesterday. Markets in 2017, S&P saw a little bit of consolidation. New president, new whatever, new regime, whatnot. So did Bitcoin. The dollar started its downward trajectory, and then there was this ultimate boom that we still think is to come. So this would have wobbled the markets a little bit yesterday. I think largely an overreaction. If this was to go ahead as set out, which I actually don't think is likely, look what happened with Mexico and Canada. It's bad news for Europe. Europe and the UK are in real trouble, in my own opinion, more so than the US. And certainly this would, it's not good. It's essentially a trade war, and the fears of escalation are always possible. And of course, it's very interesting, the kind of markets always price in the worst when you get the news. One saving grace that came out yesterday, there's a few actually, certainly when it relates to crypto in regards to the Gemini case. Nvidia's auto segment revenue surged to record high, so they beat expectations significantly on demand for driving assist tech. I was looking at eBay. eBay got smashed. I still think eBay looks good. Remember, markets move in this wave-like fashion. Where is Nvidia? Let's take a look. Let's go over to meeting. Strange, I don't have it in my watch list. But Nvidia obviously saw a little bit of a spike up. I do think Nvidia is going to continue to the upside. This is still in a broad uptrend. The S&P, somewhat flat though. it's in this kind of consolidation, but I still have technical targets to the S&P to the upside. Very right on this since down here when we got back into the crypto space. So a lot going on. Trump is really the big one. I ultimately think he's kind of bluffing in regards to a lot of this, or using it as a tool for now to get what he wants, because ultimately I do think these nations have to bow down, quite frankly, because it would cripple them if these tariffs are to take place. And I think it's a bartering chip, and I think the reason they haven't started that dollar downward trajectory, remember, monetary policy is really a very sort of restrictive territory. And there's an unwinding of that to come, and I think that sees assets do well. Just my own take. In regards to crypto, yesterday we had the digital asset hearing, obviously headed by Cynthia Lummis. We did live stream this, and thank you very much for everybody that turns up. The chat, by the way, was pretty depressing because, of course, the price was selling off and everyone was saying that crypto was dead. I mean, how many times has that been said? It's yet to happen. And we think crypto is the exact opposite. You've got a lot of fundamental things that are taking place that are just extremely bullish, but largely being drowned out. One of which was, of course, what took place with Gemini. Perhaps to capstone this, I won't play this clip. You can find all this. Obviously, we've got the whole recording on YouTube if you go to our lives, and we've got clips of it on our Twitter. But it was generally good, generally positive. The fact that we're where we are just shows how far this industry has came. There was great news yesterday in regards to the Gemini case now being dropped. And actually, we've seen the Coinbase case get dropped since the last Sunshine Act. The Robinhood case get dropped. The Binance case get dropped. That was a little bit beforehand. The OpenSea case get dropped. The Uniswap case get dropped. Now the Gemini case get dropped. I think it's likely you're going to see the SEC, which is meeting today in regards to the Sunshine Act, the Ripple case get dropped. And ultimately, we're obviously very bullish on XRP for the reasons that we've laid out previously. And actually, it's holding up really well. People are saying XRP is dead. People say some of these other cryptos dead. They don't look dead to me. And the reason people say that is because they don't look at the charts. The charts, how do you know what the price of something is going to do? It seems silly to me that you don't look at a chart which maps out price action in regards to trying to work out whether you're bullish or bearish on the markets. A lot of people just go on sentiment. And what the news headlines say and what, your Coinbase notifications say. Don't do that. Don't have that broader plan. Hopefully we're helping you guys out with that. And of course, you're the judges in regards to trying to work out what this market's going to do. There was some bad news in regards to, or what's certainly been deemed bad news. BlackRock crypto movement ignites speculation. BlackRock has reportedly moved significant quantities of Bitcoin and Ethereum to Coinbase Prime, with transactions occurring over the last hour. The financial community on social media has reacted with various speculation ranging from a sell-off to strategic investment. So we don't know exactly what's going on here. Again, people really panicking about this. Don't. This was actually from Miles. This is looking at outflows. We saw a bigger outflow really in sort of going into February last year. And look at what Bitcoin's price did. So I believe this is February last year. Look at this run that it had after those massive outflows. It's very interesting. We're all worried about what institutions are doing when this space was meant to challenge, and the opposite's been true. Guys, please go and read Roger Ver's Hijacking Bitcoin book and go and support the guy. He's facing 100 and something years in prison for postal fraud, and the postal fraud was that he mailed them his taxes that he had professionally done 10 years ago before he left the United States. And they're trying to do him for postal fraud on that. It's very unfair, but he was actually ended up in jail beforehand for criticising an event that took place with the United States. Anyway, we're not going to go too far into all of that. So don't read too much into this. I really wouldn't read particularly too much into this. I think when you look at the cryptocurrency space, you look at Hedera, it looks great, very likely to bounce here. It is bouncing here. When you look at Bitcoin, this is still in a really broad, strong uptrend. You've ultimately got the fact that you're in an uptrend being one confluencing factor to the multiple technical patterns that take you to the upside. When you look at the total, when you look at total 2, total 3, others, when you look at individual altcoins, when you look at the stock market, nothing really seems that bad. It's just a real over-exaggeration, I think, in regards to the markets and retail participation. When we look at sentiment right now, it's in extreme fear. I don't really think the technical picture supports that whatsoever. I think what supports that is the headlines, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and generally retail participant not having a clue what's going on, and really just following their Coinbase notifications in regards to looking to figure out what's going on with the markets. Lots of liquidations took place yesterday. Hopefully none of you are involved in that. We certainly do very much promote the idea that people shouldn't trade, certainly with leverage. I've watched some of the best traders I know actually fail miserably at trying to trade the cryptocurrency space. But generally, guys, we still think it's a great picture. Crypto is, in my opinion, going to do extremely well. Despite all the macro uncertainty, I think there's going to be a resolve to a lot of that. I will do a video on what I think is going to be a main driver or a real driver of sort of the economy and markets in regards to what I think Trump's about to do. But hang in there. We're seeing some great things like Gemini, case get dropped, multiple case getting dropped. There's more of that to come. We're now having hearings on digital assets, etc., etc., etc. Meanwhile, retail is in extreme fear. Whose side do you want to be on, guys? That's it from me. I'm going to love and leave you. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. And I'll see you all in the next one.